The crystalline throne room of Velara stretched impossibly high, its walls pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that had witnessed 10,000 years of galactic diplomacy. Queen Zextara of the Velthari Empire sat upon her elevated seat, her four eyes gleaming with predatory interest as the human delegation approached. Liam walked beside Melissa, their armored suits humming softly with each step across the polished obsidian floor. Around them, hundreds of alien courtiers whispered in frequencies that ranged from subsonic rumbles to ultrasonic chirps. The Velthari were an ancient race, their empire spanning 47 star systems. Humanity had been traveling through space for barely 2 centuries. The humans dare to hide their faces in our presence. Zextara's voice echoed through translation implants, each word dripping with calculated disdain. How typical of such a primitive species. Melissa's jaw tightened, but she kept walking. They had been warned about this. The Velthari saw the refusal to show one's face as the ultimate insult, a declaration that the other party was unworthy of even visual acknowledgement. But humanity had learned hard lessons in their short time among the stars. "Your Majesty," Melissa began, her voice calm despite the insult. "We mean no disrespect. Our protocols require..." "Protocols?" The Queen's laugh was a musical trill that somehow conveyed pure mockery. "You speak of protocols to me? We were navigating the stars when your ancestors were still cowering in caves. Remove your helmets now, or this audience is over and the trade routes you so desperately need will remain closed to your insignificant worlds." Liam glanced at Melissa. They both knew what was at stake. 3 human colonies on the outer rim were starving, their terraforming equipment failing. The Velthari controlled the only stable route through the Cascade Nebula. Without their cooperation, thousands would die. Melissa's hand moved to her helmet seal. Liam's followed. "Perhaps," Melissa said quietly, "Your Majesty should prepare herself." "Prepare?" Zextara leaned forward, all 4 eyes widening with amusement. "For what? The sight of your soft, weak features? Your primitive bone structure? I have seen 10,000 species, little human. There is nothing beneath that helmet that could possibly surprise me." The seals hissed. The helmets lifted. The reaction was immediate. Queen Zextara's 4 eyes dilated in perfect synchronization, her blue-tinged skin paling to an almost white sheen. Around the throne room, the whispers stopped. The silence was absolute, broken only by the soft hum of the humans' life support packs. It wasn't Melissa's face that had caused the reaction, nor Liam's. Both were unremarkable by human standards. Brown hair, brown eyes, the standard features of Earth-born humans. It was their eyes specifically, the way they moved, the way they tracked. In a galaxy filled with prey species who had evolved into intelligence and predator species who had done the same, humanity was unique. They were persistence hunters who had climbed to the top of their food chain not through venom, claws, or overwhelming strength, but through one simple, terrifying trait. They never stopped. And it showed in their eyes. Every species in the galaxy had eyes that showed their nature. Prey species had eyes on the sides of their heads, giving them wide fields of vision to detect predators. Predator species had eyes that faced forward, designed for tracking and measuring distance to their prey. Humans had forward-facing eyes like predators, but they also had something else, the visible white sclera surrounding their irises, allowing other humans to see exactly where they were looking. An evolutionary trait developed not for hunting animals, but for hunting in packs, for coordinating, for communicating silently who would strike when and where, and the Velthari, for all their ancient wisdom, had never encountered it before. "By the void," Zextara whispered, her translator struggling with the nuance of her horror. "You're not prey that learned to think. You're not even normal predators. You're pack hunters, persistence predators. You're the species that runs its prey to exhaustion, that tracks across continents, that never gives up." Liam smiled slightly. It wasn't a pleasant expression. "We prefer the term determined, Your Majesty." "Your eyes," one of the courtiers breathed, backing away. "They follow everything. All of you, watching, waiting, coordinating without words." Melissa took a step forward. Around the room, a dozen guards tensed. "We asked to keep our helmets on not out of disrespect, Your Majesty, but out of courtesy." The last 3 species who saw our faces unprepared filed formal protests with the Galactic Council, claiming we were psychologically disturbing and existentially threatening. "We didn't want to offend," Liam added softly. But you insisted. Zextara was silent for a long moment, all four of her eyes locked on the two humans. Melissa met her gaze steadily, and the Queen finally understood what that meant. It wasn't aggression. It was worse. It was assessment, calculation, the patient evaluation of a predator deciding whether something was food, threat, or irrelevant. The trade routes, Zextara said, her voice now carefully controlled, stripped of its earlier mockery. You will have access, full access, and we will arrange for shipments of terraforming equipment to be sent to your colonies, as a gesture of cooperation between our peoples. That's very generous, Your Majesty, Melissa said, her voice warm but her eyes still holding that same patient, watchful quality. There is one condition, the Queen continued, her skin slowly regaining some of its natural color. When dealing with the Velthari in the future, your people may keep their helmets on. In fact, I insist upon it. Liam nodded slowly. We can agree to that. As they resealed their helmets and turned to leave, Melissa heard the Queen's voice through her translator, speaking to her advisors in what she thought was a private channel. Send word to all territories. Humanity is not to be trifled with. They are pack hunters who ran down their prey across entire continents until evolution itself gave up and gave them tools instead. They are the species that looks at the stars and sees not wonder but territory. They are patient, coordinated, and they never stop coming. Outside the throne room, Liam glanced at Melissa. Well, that went better than expected. Melissa laughed softly. 3 species filed protests. The Velthari will file a formal alliance request within a week. Humanity's reputation precedes us now. Is it wrong that I'm okay with that? Liam asked. No, Melissa replied, watching the stars through the station's viewports. Because out here, in a galaxy full of ancient empires and elder species, humanity has one advantage. We're the species that never learned to quit. We're the persistence predators who kept running even after we learned to think, and now the galaxy knows it. Behind them, in the throne room, Queen Zextara sat upon her ancient seat and stared at the doors the humans had exited through. For the first time in her 3-century reign, she felt something she had never experienced before. She felt like prey,